Hey, what's up, Rejects? Thank you so much for push and play on this next episode. But before we begin, I got to talk about Next Rung. Next Rung and its co-founder Blake Stinnett are doing so many amazing things for the fire service community and first responders all across the country. They exist to make an impact in the lives of firefighters and first responders. They provide quality resources that will help combat mental health issues that plague our profession. And if you're listening to this, you probably have an idea of what I'm talking about. And when I say resources, I don't mean EAP or counselors with no relatability of what we actually go through. These are people that are on the front lines, or they're actually trained to deal with the calls and the mental health problems that we have on a day-to-day basis. From peer support, counseling, and professional treatment against addiction, they are just one text away. If you can text support, counseling, or treatment, whatever you need, to 833-698-7864, or email info@nextrung.org. Please get the resources that you need. You don't have to struggle in silence. Contact Next Rung today. Now let's get to the show.
The culture is aggressiveness. Number one, you have to be aggressive. Number two, you have to realize that you consider every structure with a person inside of it. Every truck company, you always think that somebody's inside. It's not clear until we say it's clear. Absolutely not clear until we say it's clear. Number three, you understand that everything you do on the fire scene has a reaction. Every action has a reaction. Everything I do is going to be something positive or negative if I don't know how to do it. So the mindset is you have to learn truck company operations, and it's not pulling a hose line. It's the tools, it's the mindset, it's the how and the why. You need to understand the why. If you can't understand the why, you'll never have the answer of why you do what you do.
All right. Hey, what's up, everybody? Relentless Rejects podcast, episode 45. I can't believe we're at 45. It's been such a short period of time. Thank you for riding with me all the way up to this episode. My guest today is Captain Arthur Ashley, truck guru, FDIC instructor, hot instructor, been in the fire service since 1986, just retired January of last year. And he's actually got a new book coming out, dropping tomorrow, actually, the non-traditional truck company, and can't wait to get my hands on that. It's going to be published by Fire Engineering, correct, Cap?
It's correct.
All right, we're going to talk about that and a lot more. I don't even want to start giving it away, but we've already kind of briefed on what we're going to get after, and we're going to just dive right in. So without further ado, Captain Arthur Ashley, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
You know, I'm a little nervous to have you on because traditionally the podcast is more like culture, leadership, and I know we're going to get into that, but just hearing you talk at Wichita Hot and with the Highwaymen at Mile High and on the Weekly Scrap, you are an absolute tactician. Like, you know exactly what you talked about. You just told me before we started recording that you've been to hundreds of fires. I'm very rarely honored to have someone like you on the show.
I appreciate that. I mean, in 30 years plus from 86 on as a volunteer, I mean, I've been to a lot of fires, but I've been taught by a lot of good people too. I've had a lot of people around me that's made me look good, especially my crew.
Well, I'm so glad that you're humble in that fact, and that's really how we all learn and develop, is having the right mentors around us and just getting that experience.
That is exactly right.
So let's knock out the first thing we always do with the podcast, and that's family first. This is your moment to give a shout out or acknowledge anybody that you want right now. Family first.
I always have to, my kids, I've got my grandchildren, I've got Wyatt and Kelby, I've got my daughter, Lauren, my two boys, my oldest, Miles, and we got Evan. And, I've got all those kids, and each one of them walks to the beat of their own drum, and they're all different. They're all special. I love them. Everyone in my family has passed on, and that is my family now. So, and then the other person who has come into my life is my girlfriend, Tanya McCarthy. She's absolutely positively, made things better for me. And, Retirement's good. Family means a lot to me. Family means a lot to her. She has a great family, and things are great. And um, you're so right when you say family. I mean, I'm glad you started with family. I don't normally get to thank my kids. It's like the book's coming out tomorrow. There's a big excerpt in my book about where I'm thanking my kids for being so patient over the years of me not being around, and me going to this and going to that to make myself better and stuff. And, you know, working at the firehouse and missing this and missing that, but trying to be there and stuff. And, I'm not the only one who missed out on things. They missed out on a lot of stuff too. So, they've been through stuff too, just to make my career work for me. If I was to say it was all me, I would be selfish.
Does that become a goal of yours now that you're retired, is to give back to your kids in a way that you couldn't before?
Yes. Since I have retired, my kids talked me into retiring, and
Oh, okay.
I was going to stay longer. And my kids, they talked me into it. They let me see the other side, and everything that I come up with to stay was selfish. I met with a bunch of good guys in the truck. I get to go to fire. I'm at a great department. I work with great people. I love my job. Those were all selfish. And then I'm like, well, my daughter, she said, Dad, they've had you for 30 years. Can't we have you for the rest of the time? Man, that hit me in the feels right there. And I'm like, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done. I mean,
Yeah.
our job required us to stay 20 years. I stayed 30 because I loved it. And I was going to stay 35. No problem. I loved it. And when I left, the hardest part of my job, was walking to that pension office and standing outside of it going, am I doing the right thing? My hands were sweating. It's like, I'm like, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing, because this job has defined who I am. And after the first few months, I was getting used to, and then it took me about 6 or 7 months to my sleep to get just right. And then, I've dropped like 29 pounds, and it's just like life's completely different now. And my family, my kids, we all have a great relationship now. It's just like, uh, to me, it's the best thing I ever did, because I got to spend 30 years of doing what I wanted to do. And my chapter's closed in that, but my chapter's open in passing on what I need to pass on to people as long as I can.
I love that you're still teaching and trying to pass that torch on to anybody that's willing to listen. Like you said, it's kind of just been who you are. You gave the fire service 30 years, but it's hard to just do cold turkey, right? I mean, you still have so much in your heart that you want to give.
Yeah, it was, yeah. I was thinking about the podcast this morning, and I realized that next year is 40 years in the fire service. I started when I was 16 years old. My first fire was a basement fire at 17 years old. And I was scared to death. I was in a long coat, 3/4 boots, steel MSA tank, a large elephant trunk hose for my breather hose, a plastic helmet. And I realized I want to move down the steps really quick because it's hot. And I'm like scared to death. But as soon as I got out, I'm like, I want to do it again. And I was hooked. I was hooked. And in the 80s, there was no rules. I mean, I've rode the back of a fire truck. I've the tailboard. We've done so. I've pulled up as a volunteer. There's two of us, and we put in pump gear, and we both go in and fight fire. I mean, that's unheard of now. Now it's not unheard of, because I know there's places that do that still, because it's all they have. But 40 years, and I'm like, man, I had got to live my dream, because ever since I could walk, it's what I've wanted to do. So I can't stop now. Why stop now? I mean, the fire service needs people. I won't toot my own horn. Fire service needs people like me, who's not afraid to say anything. I never was afraid to say anything to a chief. I was never. That's one thing that they knew in Lexington. I was not afraid to speak my mind, especially when they were wrong. I would go toe to toe with the chief. And we need people like me and Justin Williams and Cody Trestrell and many more people out there to stand up and say, listen, you need to get your shit together, because the public deserves better. Because we got people dying in houses that don't need to be. Because when it comes down to it, you can have all the multi-million-dollar equipment, but if you don't know how to use it, or you don't know how to perform, or you don't have the intestinal fortitude to go inside, well, then you should be doing something else, and somebody else should be doing it. We almost lost the fire service, but I think we're in a big turn now to get the fire service back. And I'm more excited now to even just say what needs to be said. And, I don't work for anybody now, so I can say what I need to say. And I listen, if I hurt your feelings because you're not going inside of a structure trying to get to people, or you are a 2 in, 2 out, or this or that, or we couldn't get in there and there's 2 people that died in Ohio here recently, a mother and a daughter, and the child outside is telling the fire department where to go to the dispatcher and everything. They failed that family. That happens all the time. It happens more than we realize because we have inept fire departments all around. I've taught fire departments that I shake my head walking away. I've walked into states that are still teaching the choo-choo train method of search. We have the highest form of respiratory protection, the highest form of thermal protection, and you should have the training. Those people have none of that. Roll in there, find searchable space, and get to them and rescue them. They expect it. They deserve it. You got to think about it. The only thing sometimes separating you and that person is a pane of glass. Just like in Ohio, a pane of glass. We have pizza guys going in houses making rescues of children. Why can't we have our own people have the equipment and so-called training? A lot of people are t-shirt fire departments. They'll talk all the bullshit they want, but they have never rolled in somewhere and never been pushed down in a hallway, have never been burnt, have never had their ears burnt, their neck burnt, their wrists burnt, their shins burnt, their elbows burnt, their back burnt, or anything like that trying to get to people. They've never heard children yelling for their mother down the hallway and they're trying to get to them. Now that's a PTSD demon that I have. And when you hear that and they don't make it, that changes you. But when you make your first grab, that changes you as well. So I'm totally on board until I take my last breath and they put me in a coffin. I'll be pushing for the fire service to be better.
Cap, do you think you always had this mindset, or was it something that you picked up from either mentors or just maybe making mistakes along the way and realizing the consequences as you go through?
I did not always have this mindset, and I think it was because of maturity, because of where I grew up, demographics. I think it was just a culmination of things. I think the reason I didn't have that was because with maturity level, 16 years old, I was 18 years old driving a fire truck, and I should have never been behind the wheel. But learning things, back in those days, it was like put the water on the fire. The stressing of search was just a checkbox. It really wasn't in my head of why I was doing the search. But as time went on, I started to see it. I got into Lexington in 94 and they pushed search and we searched. And it still didn't click with me until I started working with other people on the job, some of my mentors. And then it clicked with me. And then, when you get back up and before that, when you make your first grab, that's when it kind of hit me, but it didn't hit me. It was kind of like somebody pointing me in the right direction to go to get to somebody, and I got to them and got them out. But then I'm like, later on, it's like my search was not good. But then I realized my search had to get better. And I crawled on my hands and knees because that's what we all did. And then later down the line, we learned the tripod position well before we learned it. Here in the past few years, we learned that there was reasons for the tripod. I mean, there's so many reasons. But when I started learning why we stood for what we stood, that changed me. Also, going out of my comfort zone and going out of my city, going out of my state to other training and being exposed to other firefighters who had more experience, busier places. I was driving on my own dime. I would save my money from working and stuff, and I would drive here, I would drive there. Sometimes friends would come, most of the time not, because it was just hard back in those days. And so I would meet people, and there's friends I have to this day that I met long years ago, but it changed me, and I would come back. And when I came back with stuff, man, I hit a wall because nobody wanted to learn anything from the outside because it was their way or no way. And so on my job, except for a few handful of people, it was an uphill battle. but I never let it bother me because I knew what the mission was. I knew that in order for us to be good at our job, we had to be like ducks and let the rainwater flow off our feathers and not let it bother us. All the criticism and anything like that. I never worried about, I would never ask somebody for their opinion, or I never worried about comments from people. I'd ask for their opinion anyway, because most of the time, people who are critiquing you are a recliner firefighter. I saw on Instagram yesterday, Conduct Unbecoming put on there about recliner firefighters, and it was so true because there's so many people that whine, bitch, moan, and complain, and talk about this and talk about that they're the greatest firefighters to do this or do that. I've never seen a recliner firefighter do a fucking thing. Yeah, I've seen a recliner, but that's after I've worked. That's after I've put into work. It's after my crew's put into work. Either working out, either after doing this, either training, either going over this, making sure we're squared away. Every crew that I ever had work under me was squared away, from riding positions, from all the way down from a working high-rise fire all the way down to working a code. Everybody knew their spot, and it was printed out. They had it. They knew it. They had to know it, because fluidity is what makes things roll because we don't lose time. And when we know what we're doing and we roll off the truck, I don't have to ask the guy behind the driver, what are you doing? Or get your tool or get this or get that. I'm getting off the truck, and the guy behind me automatically knows he's the inside team with me. And the guy behind the driver and him knows they're the outside team. Or if we're going to the roof, we already know who's grabbing the saws. We already know who's grabbing the ladders. We don't even have to talk about it. We've already trained on it. They already know my expectations. We've already trained on it. It's written down in front of them. We go over it. And if somebody travels into the house to the truck, my driver, the first thing I say at shift change or before shift change, I say, do they have the list yet? And they'll always say they already have the list. And that list is what they have to do in that position they're riding, from elevator runs to medical runs to private alarms to strip malls to you name it. What tools are they bringing and what are they performing? Because I do not believe in Keystone Cops. If we're going to the roof, we're cutting a hole and we're coming down. We're not going up there and fiddle around and just try to figure it out. That's not the place. I have failed you and I failed the public by trying to figure it out on the roof. If I pull up in the front of a house and you have a fortified door and I don't know how to force it with the basics of forcible entry, I have failed my crew and I have failed those people inside and I have failed the public that is paying my salary. I'm either a working boss or a supervising boss. And I've always told my guys that. Supervising boss, I'm there to make sure that you don't fuck up. I'm sure to make sure I'm looking over your shoulder while you're forcing your first door out of the academy. You're forcing your first door. We're actually crushing the door, because in the academy, we're not crushing the door because we're just breaking 2x2 pieces of wood that's been soaked in water. We'll make it hard or easy on you. It depends on what it is. When I'm standing and looking over you, and it's just me and you, and yeah, I'll strike and hit for you, but I'm going to tell you how to put the bevel on which side of the jam. I'm going to tell you to put the forks where they need to go, how the adze needs to be. Let's put the pike in there. Let's slide this Halligan down this shaft to this other Halligan. And if somebody's behind us giving this kid hell, because I always say that if you are doing forcible entry, you are always on Broadway, because there's nowhere else on the fire scene that somebody's watching you. The engine can't get in to start a line. They can't start a search, or we can't start a search till we open it. There could be a rescue company behind you. The instant commander's watching you. The public's watching you. You got cell phones on you. So you better bring your best performance, because people are watching you. There's nothing worse than to watch somebody baton twirl a Halligan and not know how to use it. So me as a supervising boss is to make sure that doesn't happen, but it's also my job to turn around when the guys behind us on my department are giving this guy a little hard time, because they've all been there, and I need to remind them that. And I'll tell them, shut the fuck up. And there's enough respect there that they shut up. This guy forces his first door. Once he forces his first door, we start our search or whatever we need to do. That builds his first level of confidence. He's built his foundation. We're out of training now. Training, you're protected. We can put the fires out. We can call timeout, stuff like that. But now we're working. I always tell guys, I was just talking about it the other day, that I was speaking in Napa, California last week. And the thing I was speaking about was I was talking about you when you're working and you force doors, we force doors. We'll make a door really hard for you, and you work so hard and you sweat and you pop it open and you walk away. I said, hold on, you got to stop that bullshit. You got to put them down starting their search now. You got to have them stand there, put their mask on with their gloves on, then start their search, because we still need to know if their cardio and their physical fortitude and all that stuff can handle it, because they've worked themselves crazy, got the dry mouth. They've already got the dry mouth. They're sweating and they're tired. Their hands are shaking from holding that Halligan that's been slammed. And now it's time to get in a tripod position and get your bearings and start a search and move on through that house. Split search, best search that you could ever find somebody. That's how we find most people. You've got to get into a split search, and you'll learn that. We'll go over that before we ever do it. And there's certain little things I do before I go into a room. If we can talk about that later. You know, I talked about it one time on Facebook that I put my Halligan at the door in a bedroom before I search it, and they lost their damn mind. They said, you can't ever let go of your tool. And I'm like, it's a tool. I'm in a bedroom, and if I put it at the door, the forks are pointing in and the adze or pike are at the door, two things. They're going to know the captain's in there because that's what the captain does, and the door can't shut on it. And I'm not fixated while I'm searching, and I don't have a tool in my hand, slapping somebody in the head with it. I can move quicker with it out of my hand. And if I come around the room to another door, and there's not a Halligan in it, guess what? It's either an ensuite, a Jack and Jill, a walk-in closet, or another room. So when I come out, I grab my Halligan, close the door, and move on. It's just little things like that. And people just like lose their mind. It just tells me that there's people out there that just they don't search enough. They don't think about it enough, and they don't look for the speed or anything like that. And that's okay. That's okay. And it's my job to tell you it's okay to do that. You're on a slab in Texas, probably not a basement in the house, and there's 4 bedrooms. You don't have to have your Halligan going into a 10 by 10 room, because you're going to search it pretty quick if you're thorough, because the primary search is fast and methodical, you know. And I get on a tangent. I get on this one. It's just because I'm so passionate about this, because there's so many things that people need to do for these people inside. And it's not just about starting to lift a right hand or left hand search. If you can't find the fire and you pull up, it's all smoke, you got to move to those people and get to the people closest to the fire, because the radiated heat's going to kill them. The guy who's 30 feet away, 4 rooms away, can wait till I get to him. But this person right here, this female and this guy laying in the hallway or laying outside this room that is just rolling into the hallway, they need me quicker than this guy over here. And then, I tell the engine where it's at. I can confine it. I can knock it back to the can and do all kinds of things. Nobody does that. Nobody talks about that in these small departments. It's the big departments or medium-sized departments. Now, there are some small departments that are excellent. Let me tell you something right now. There's some volunteer departments that can give some paid departments a run for their fucking money, because they're that good. And paid guys can say all they want. Volleys get their shit. I got my shit now. Volleys have their problems, but there's some paid guys that have their problems, But there's some volunteer departments that have their shit together. But when it comes down to it, I just wish everybody get their shit together across the board.
Yeah, you're spitting some fire right out of the gate.
I get passionate about it, man.
I'm so glad I made a long list of topics to talk to you about, because, man, you've already burned through a good chunk of them. I want to backtrack to something, though, specifically with the seat assignments. As a company officer, I'm not a company officer, but I've gone up to company officers and asked them, hey, what are the responsibilities? Do you have seat assignments? What are we doing in this situation? And not all of them, but sometimes I get a response of, oh, I don't want to be a micromanager. Not every call is the same, so we'll just make the call when the tones drop. Like, what do you say to those individuals that may say seat assignments is micromanaging?
Okay, micromanaging, that is not micromanaging. That is taking care of your crew and overseeing how things are going to go. Second thing is you're planning to fail, because you can't always be with your crew. If you got 3 guys on the truck, all 3 of you can't be together sometimes. If you got 4 plus, listen, if you're 3 or less, you're short-staffed in your truck. If you're 4 or more, you're fully staffed. And if you think you're going to talk to other people, it's not going to happen. So if you have riding positions, and you put your expectations out there to your people, and you train on those things, and they can say, every call's different. Well, they are. But if we're going to the structure and we're going to, what's your bread and butter? Okay. 1,500 square foot range. Okay. And we can do 2-story. Well, we got 4 sides. We got a roof. We got a possible basement. We got doors going into it. We got windows going into it. It's got bedrooms. It's got service areas. What's changed? We got a fire in it now. We got possible people. Nothing's changed. I still have to force doors. I still have to search. I still have to ventilate. I still have to ladder. I still have to do all this stuff. Nothing's changed. It's just like the American Fire Service. We have the same fire trucks, the same hose. We have the same ladders. We have the same tools. We have the same this. We have the same that. The only thing different, demographics, training, and firefighters, and mindset. That's the only thing different. We're the ones that fuck it up. We have the tools. We either don't know how to use them, and one of them's our brain. But when you don't have writing assignments, try a writing assignment sometime and stick to it and see how smooth it goes. You're not micromanaging. If you think that's micromanaging, you truly don't know what leadership is. And that's a leader right there, because if you give them responsibility, they want responsibility. They want a leader that believes in them to turn them loose to do their job, to give them responsibility. That's confidence building. And you can do that, they'll respect you and you respect them, and they'll follow you anywhere. It works both ways. You have to give and take. And at the same time, you have to evaluate it. Well, you didn't do this correctly, but you never do that in front of anybody else. You do that behind closed doors. We don't do this in front of anybody else if I got a problem with somebody. The only time you ever see me chap somebody's ass or yell at somebody, not really chap somebody's ass, but yell at somebody, is if it's a dangerous situation that I have to get in touch with them and say, listen, stop, or something bad's about to happen. Any other time, it happened back at the firehouse behind closed doors, because that's respect. I would want it done to me, but it's not always been done to me, because I've had people above me, chiefs, who thought they were leaders but had no fucking clue on how to be a leader. And they would chat my ass. So riding positions, engine companies, when we used to do engine companies, the only thing different between us was if I was riding on this side and the hydrant was on that side, I caught the hydrant. If it was on that side, the other guy caught the hydrant. We still had fluidity. Nozzle Ford came to our department. I was in the academy as an instructor. Our department did it 3 times. Our department bought in. We stretch hose now better than we ever have, because we bought in. There's riding assignments on trucks. Not every person in my department has a riding assignment on their trucks. Some either don't believe in it, or they think it's micromanaging, like you said. Some don't think it's going to happen to them because they're a slow company. Some have not bought in. Some are just plain ignorant. And that's nationwide. Attitudes is the biggest killer. You get one person in the firehouse with a bad attitude, it kills the firehouse. You get one bad person on the company, that's bad, it kills the company. You get a bad officer to work for, you're fucked. You are fucked, because he will kill your soul, kill your drive, and he will kill you from doing the right thing. And all I can tell you is hope he moves or put in for a transfer, because you don't want to work for those guys. I worked for those guys. I worked for a couple of bad officers, and it was for them, but they didn't stay long because it was a busy place. They wasn't going to stay long. They promoted, got there, I'm out, going to see you bye. So if they say that a riding position is not important, I'll argue all day long with them, because it worked in my career. I've seen it work. I've seen it work. I've seen it save lives. I've seen it make things better. I've seen it I've seen it open doors quicker. I've seen it open roofs quicker. I've seen it save people quicker. I've seen it put ladders into places to get to people quicker. I've seen it do so many things because there was a riding position, no talking, people going to work, knowing what the other one was doing. At the end of the day, I was happy. They were happy because the officer believed in them and the job got done.
I'm glad you preached a lot about leadership, because I do think you don't have to be a company officer in that, but I think the company officer is one of the most important roles in the fire service because of that. I think for a firehouse crew, the company officer is the cap, right? They're basically the ceiling. If your company officer only holds himself to this standard, it's hard for anybody to go above that standard because they're the company officer. So like you said, if you have a bad company officer, you are kind of fucked.
You are. And I've listen, I've had guys who I've had several guys in my career come to me and either in the open or behind closed doors as a mentor. I've had guys come to me as a mentor because they had a bad officer or they didn't want somebody to know because it would cause problems because they're across town, different shift or something like that. Because people take that to heart when somebody else is like being mentored by another officer, and I understood that. I'd get phone calls, I'd get text messages, Cap, we think about this, we think about that. And I would always be honest with them. Always being honest with them. I would tell them, you probably want to get out of there. Or, I've seen how this works out before. He's not going to stay long, blah, blah, blah. Ride it out for a couple more months, and I can see the writing on the wall with the way the promotions are going right now. He won't be there long. Ride it out. And it's in the fire department, I believe there's nothing we can do when people get promoted with the promotion process. When a person takes a test, is a good test taker, they sell themselves really well in the interview. Where we get them at is their background of what they've done on the job. We can mark against that, which our department does. You're in a ranking score system, and just because you've got seniority, this or that, or blah blah blah, doesn't mean you're going to get a truck. Doesn't mean you're going to get the business trip. Doesn't mean you're going to get this. Doesn't mean you're going to get that. But everything in the promotional process is right down to who can take a test, who can talk, and who can say the right things when you've got all these scenes in front of you. If you could call a second alarm, call for help, this or that, they're going to score you high. When you get out on the real scene in the right seat and you're trying to develop your routine, it's not like that. The whole world's different. I've got a new officer that was on my truck. Think the world of him. He just got promoted. He just started on the truck Tuesday as a new lieutenant. And I gave him some advice Tuesday. And I made a run a few years back I was listening to on the radio, which was supposed to be our run as second due, but they messed up the computer system. And I added myself to the run. Multi-alarm fire, people jumping out of windows, people being rescued and everything like that. And the first due officer was a young officer with no real drive for the job. Goes on scene, gives a report. He says 3 or 4 units fully involved on fire, people jumping. Does not, it's at midnight in the apartment complex, does not call for a second alarm or anything like that. And I'm like, I would call for a second. If I'd been the district chief, I would be on radio calling for a second. But I got my guys up out of bed and said, get on the truck, we're going to a fire. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, this is getting ready to go second. If it doesn't, we're headed that way. And we did. We headed that way. And as soon as I walked on scene, I was directed. We couldn't get our truck in. And I told my guys, get all of our stuff off the truck, bring it to the scene, because I believe in bringing our tools and not working with somebody else's tools. Because I had been fucked before using somebody else's tools, saws and everything. I know mine would start. So we would bring a cache of tools down. I said, get the tools. I'll be at command post getting us an assignment. Meet up with me there. As soon as I'm walking down, guy yells, there's your rescue, there's your rescue, there's your rescue. And the district chief turns around and says, I need you in that apartment right there. There's a lady trapped in there. And I look, there's already a ladder there because they've already made one rescue. I'm like, great. So walking with purpose, I put my Halligan in my waist of my SCBA. I've always come off the truck with my gloves on. So I'm walking. As I'm walking with purpose, I'm putting my mask and everything on. And by the time I get to the bottom of the ladder, I'm going up the ladder. And all I have to do is when I cross that railing is click in. And I've got heavy fire rolling out of this. I'm crawling in under heavy fire to try to look for this lady. Granted, I crawled all the way through there with collapse in the rear while I was in there, coming back out, and thank God I didn't get trapped. I knew that if I did, I could get out because I'm in a core unit. I could get out a window. I wouldn't call the Mayday to just bring me a ladder. But I did find a dog on the way out. But I mean, it could have been a human. They said my baby, my baby, my baby, my daughter, or something like that, something to the effect of a human. But what I'm saying is listening, knowing, having a plan, all that kind of stuff, knowing I can put my shit on while I'm walking. The officer needs to be able to do the same fucking thing as every guy on the truck because I set the example. I used to drive the rig all the time sometimes because I wanted to. I drove the rig, senior guy in the seat, because I wheeled it the whole shift. I'd put it up. I would put the ladder anywhere you want it because that kept me sharp. I could tell you how long it was, how wide it was, how tall it was. what degree I could do things. I would beat it if I had to. I could tell you the strengths and weaknesses of every tool on that truck, what we could do, what we couldn't do, and I can know what every guy on the truck could do, what they couldn't do. And if a chief said, "Hey, Cap, we're getting ready to raise a Stokes off this bridge. We're getting to do a low angle rescue with your ladder, and we need you to stretch it out all the way over here. Can you do that?" I should be able to go, "Chief, can't do that angle with my truck." I shouldn't be able to go, "Well, I don't know." Well, I don't know does not answer the question. That means we didn't get out and we didn't practice. We did not get out and figure out what our truck could do. I know what my truck can do beyond what the manufacturer says my truck can do. They know what it can do, but they just won't tell you sometimes. They know it can do what I'm teaching and what I'm doing in my truck. Leaning the truck, picking it up, doing all kinds of stuff. That truck is made to do that. And all these chiefs are so freaking crazy when they say, "Oh, you don't scratch ladders, don't touch the ladder on the building," all this, that. It is a fire service ladder. It is a battle wagon. It is made to be slammed around. I don't mean, if you're like, I used to kiss a building when I was driving the ladder. I'd kiss the building to see where I was at, either on the bottom or the side. But I wouldn't French kiss it to slam it into it. Everything is smooth. Every driver I had, a chauffeur, I made sure they were smooth on the controls. Because one of our things that we did, and that was our plan is if we had somebody on the 5th floor and above, and we pulled up, when we pulled up, me and the person behind me would go to the turntable, get our belts out of the base of it. Driver setting the truck up. The time he gets up there, he's raised the ladder up and he's extended it. Either myself or the other person will go to the end of it, lock in, and ride the ladder up to the person. We've extended it to keep my feet from getting crushed. I'm riding it up to the person, talking to them, and now I don't have to climb to them. And people say you can't do that. And I look at them and say, "What's the difference in that than a tower? You tell me the difference." It's the same hydraulics. It's the same ladder, same outriggers. It's the same hydraulic system, and I'm locked in. I'm riding the ladder up. And the best part about it is all my chauffeurs are trained to be smooth on that ladder, because I'm not using creeper control, because I do not need to be slow. They're going to bring me right into that person. They may be throwing me a baby. I don't need to be waiting at the turntable to the ladders where it needs to be. I need to have a plan. And that was one of our plans. That was one of our many plans. Every truck officer needs to have these plans. And they can say, "Oh, he's crazy, stupid. All this, that'll never happen." Yeah, that's when Murphy bites you in the ass and you're on the front of Fire Engineering Magazine or in an article, or you're on a video and people are burning your ass for not having your shit together.
All right, brief interruption to the show, guys. I'm sorry, but I got to talk about this energy drink put out by Brotherhood Buffs. This is the Buffed energy drink. It's got several flavors: Berry Blast, Cherry Flash, Citrus Charge, Pineapple Splash, Tropical Passion, Watermelon Wave. I got the Watermelon Wave in my hand, and it tastes so good. This is a product for firefighters, by firefighters. If you don't know who Brotherhood Buffs are, they are the home of the original Go Get 'em Brothers. And if you're listening to this, I know you know what I'm talking about. Buffed Energy is a lifestyle brand that focuses on providing long-lasting energy. Join Brotherhood Buffs in embracing Buffed Energy lifestyle and unlock your full potential one energized moment at a time. You can get yours now at officialbuffedenergy.com. That's official, BUFFD energy.com. Back to the show. Cap, the two topics I can think of the most, just listening to you talk, and you're using real life scenarios to explain your message, but I cannot help but think of mindset and training that leads into perfection on the fire ground. Maybe not perfection, but you know what I mean, like efficiency on the fire ground. So I want to pick your brain on this, and since we're talking a lot about truck, the message that I first heard from you at Mile High was truck culture is a mindset. It's not just an apparatus. So can you talk to me about mindset and training so you can build your crew up to be able to do the things that you're talking about?
Yes. So that's something in the past 15 years that since I've been on the road, plus 15 years plus teaching, is that you don't have to have a $2.2 million truck out front to have a truck company. You don't have to do that. It is a mindset. And what I mean by that is that, you know, an engine company, and I can pick on engine companies because I rode the busiest engine in our city for years. And we had one job, and that was to pull a line, get it to the location, and put the fire out. You know, the engine fights the fire, the truck fights the conditions. Now, if we're fighting the conditions, The attitude I have to have is that I don't have one job. I have 9+ jobs, and we have to pick the most important job going on scene based on what we have. So it's a mindset. So you can, you can be a master, or what is it, a jack of all trades and a master of none. No, the truck has to be a jack of all trades and a master of many. You have to pull from your mind what you need to do. So am I pulling a 28? Am I pulling a 35? I teach guys like, if you pull a 24-foot ladder, it'll get you to the third floor because 3 comes between 2 and 4 to get to the third floor. If you're pulling a 35, it'll get you to the fourth floor because 4 comes between 3 and 5. That's just a little fire nugget. Takes the guesswork out of it. It's 10 feet between each windowsill to windowsill to windowsill on a residential structure. Little things like that will get you in the mindset. Now, the mindset part of the truck culture is this: understanding what you do of fighting the conditions. You are opening the structure up for people, and that's being us and them. You are ventilating the structure for us and them. And I like to think that my ventilation is more for them than it is for us. We are laddering the structure for us and them, and we are doing vent inner search for us and them, and we're doing search for us and them. And you're saying, why are you doing it for you too? Well, I'm getting reps in that I don't normally get, because in the training academy, you're searching on a wall that you're touching 100% of the time. When I'm in a real house, I don't touch the wall maybe 3 to 5%. I got to learn to do search patterns. So this is good for me. So you pay attention to every fire. So the culture is aggressiveness. Number one, you have to be aggressive. Number two, you have to realize that you consider every structure with a person inside of it. I don't care. Every truck company, you always think that somebody's inside. It's not clear until we say it's clear. Absolutely not clear until we say it's clear. Number three, you understand that everything you do on the fire scene has a reaction. Every action has a reaction. Everything I do is going to be something positive or negative if I don't know how to do it. It's not just like spraying water. I could spray water and steam burn people. That's one thing, but I could spray water and put a fire out as well. But I could break a window over here as an outside vent man and give all that shit somewhere to go, not back on the victims, me as a searcher or the engine company. Or I could break it behind the engine company and draw the fire straight back on them, straight back on the victims, straight back on the search team. So the mindset is number one, you have to learn truck company operations. And it's not pulling a hose line. It's the tools, it's the mindset, it's the how and the why, the strategy and the tactics. We need to ventilate the roof. Okay, we need to do ventilation. How are we going to do it? We're going to do vertical ventilation. Okay, the hows and the whys. We tell you how to do it, but in truck company operations, you need to understand the why. If you can't understand the why, you'll never have the answer of why you do what you do. Once you get all that, then you build your confidence. Then the culture starts to be built. The culture is built because you feel this sense of importance, confidence, responsibility. You're needed on scene. These people need you. Your crew needs you inside. The host team needs you. The search team, everybody needs the truck company to do everything. The people, everybody. It is a fundamental part. The truck may not be outside, but at every structure fire, 3 things take place: extinguishment, search, and ventilation. The search does not always take place because there are some big departments out there, and I will not name them, but I know for a fact the search doesn't take place till after the fire's put out. And shame on them. Shame on them. But those 3 things will always take place. Always take place. But to be an integral part of that, it's all about people. That truck company is about rescue. And in order to rescue people at a working fire, you have to know how to get to them, how to search for them, how to lift the conditions off them, how to do all that stuff. You understand that what you're doing is saving someone's life. And when you realize that you're holding someone's life in the balance with everything you do, that every action has a reaction, that changes you. And then when you have the right leader sitting in the right seat, or the right battalion chief, or the right truck companies in the city getting together, or engine companies saying, man, I'm glad you opened that roof. It took it off of us. Or that search team saying, man, when you opened that roof, man, it lifted super quick and I saw him at the end of the hallway. Or that victim, they're about that. They got smoke past their head that far and lifted it above their nose that far and gave them a fighting chance. That's what it's all about. So when you can learn those and you got a leader that can teach that, instill that, push that, and then back it up with confidence and responsibility of his guys, that's where the culture comes from. You got to have a few it doesn't take a lot of tools to complete the job. It takes maybe, oh gosh, at most 10 tools and I can put a truck company together. 10 tools and I can put a truck company together. It's all about hard blue collar work with a mindset, aggressiveness, perseverance, intestinal fortitude, with cardiovascular and a good strong back. That's it. That's it. And to learn, I learned this. I went through a thing one time that learned where your breaking point is. And I'm glad I did it. Learn where your breaking point is, your give up point, but you also learn that you can push yourself beyond that. Truck company needs to learn to get beyond that, because if you are at your worst moment and you're about to give up and you hear that moan, that person, that kid yell, or you hear a cry, you can't say, that's when that extra adrenaline kicks in. You look at your air pack, your vibe alert's not going off. You see you got enough air, you go, let's fucking do this. I got this. You can't just tap out. It's not tap out time. Either you're going to do it or not. And if this is not for you, go be a bank teller somewhere.
Talk to me about truck swagger, but confidence, not cockiness.
Truck swagger. Well, that's a good one, because I had an assistant chief of operations call me in his office, and I never cared for my chiefs on my department. Never cared for my chief, because once they got above a certain level, they changed. Even friends of mine, they changed. I used to tell them the reason they wore a necktie with their uniforms was to keep the foreskin down after they got their chief's news. So the swagger, he called me and he said, Cap, sit down, I need to talk to you. And he wasn't talking to me about what he's getting ready to make a comment, something else. He said, while I got you in here, I just want to let you know you're cocky. And I just kind of looked at him and said, all right. He said, yeah, you're cocky. He said, you walk around here cocky. I said, well, Chief, I said, I'm going to disagree with you, because there's a fine line between confidence and cocky. Cocky is not being able to back it up with anything. Confidence, everything that I say that me or my crew can do, or we've done, or anything, if I say it, if it comes out of my mouth, we can back it up. That's the swagger. That's the swagger. If I say I can force a certain door, or I can search, or I can open a roof, or do this or do that, or I know about this or that, it is not cocky. It is confidence. And when you have that confidence, you want that confidence to exude onto your crew, which it did and it does. And you want that confidence to exude off of them onto other people, which it does, and it will. Those people draw people, because you get questions asked by other firefighters and officers. You get district chiefs and everybody saying, I'm glad your truck company was coming. Your truck company was requested by me because I knew you all could handle it. Other firefighters and officers saying, I'm glad it was you on the roof, or you doing this or that. That's the biggest form of praise there is. So I didn't give a shit about this shitbag chief telling me that, because I don't care. Because I knew his career. His career was shit. And he's sitting there talking. I don't give a shit. I know what we can do. You have to listen. You cannot be passive aggressive and be on a ladder company. You cannot be passive. You cannot be passive. If something rubs you the wrong way, you've got to say something. You have to say something. You can't let them keep you down. I told that same chief, I said, there is no policy, procedure, or piece of paper or anything like that that's going to keep me from saving a life. You will not keep me from entering that structure on 2 in or 2 out if I think somebody's in there. I'm sorry. Put me on the street for a month with no pay, or whatever you need to do, because if I pull somebody out of there, number one, you ain't gonna say nothing to me. Number two, if I go in there and pull somebody out and you do something to me, the news is gonna love it, and they're gonna say, why did you do that to your rest gear? I'll be honest, I used to lie on 2 in, 2 out when it started for the truck company. They say, you were in there beyond the incipient phase and it was rolling out the front door, blah, 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 this, and that. Your ladder company was first on the scene. Yeah. I thought I heard somebody say somebody was in there. I lied.
Mm-hmm.
And people said, well, you should do that. No, I lied because I was doing it in the of that person in the back of that house needing me, not because I'm waiting on somebody to pull up in a Suburban to make 4 on scene. And it all it is a checkbox. All it is satisfying a liability of our fire department. That's all it fucking is. Fuck that. I'm not doing that when somebody's life's in there. Like I said, I have the highest form of respiratory protection and thermal protection. They don't have shit. And 95% of the time, well, every time, I never had a hose line in my hand as a truck company to ever protect us. It was a water can. So I know that if they're taking a beating, I'm going to take a beating if there's not a hose line in there. But we're going to try to get to them. And if we're backing out, it's bad. It's pushed us out. And I don't know if it's survivable space until after the fire, we open the door. I don't know if it's searchable space until I get my ass in there with my crew. So that cocky and confidence thing, they can piss on that. There's a fine line. Now, if you're cocky and can't back it up, go sit down, Junior, because you know what? Your first fire, your second fire, your third fire, people will figure you out. First 15 minutes talking to a real fireman, they'll figure you out. The first time you try to operate on scene to do shit, they'll figure you out. They may not say it to your face, but I guarantee every motherfucker in the department's talking about you.
Let them know, Cap. I love it. The first time I ever got to see real truck swagger was meeting Mike Champo for the first time. He was down in Pensacola, and there was a bunch of people around, and he goes, make a hole. Truck fireman coming through. Truck fireman coming through. And everybody's scattered. Boom, like part in the Red Sea. And he walks through with his chest out, head held high. And I'm like, that's a fucking fireman right there. So, yeah, I know. I love it. Before that, I always thought truckies were just dumb and stupid and just meatheads. But
so I have to tell you about him real quick about what he just said. I was teaching with him in Ohio several years back, and we were standing there outside of a training tower, and he is a sweetheart, man. I'm telling you right now, he is a great man. He's not just a great officer, great firefighter, but to know him outside of the fire department, he is a great person. Absolutely one of the most humble people I've ever met in my entire life. Give you the shirt off his back. Would stop if he didn't know you and you ask him a question. He would stop and show you how to do whatever needs to be done, and no matter how long it took. People don't understand that about him, is that he is absolutely a true mentor. So we're standing there, and he says to sort of the effect of, he said, do you know how to make another company mad? And I said, no, how do you make another company mad? And he says, well, you get your crew, you get all their stuff and everything, and you come marching through. Well, the other ladder company's standing there. I think he said, how do you make another truck company mad? And I've done this after he told me that, and it has a very good effect, by the way. He said, do the same thing. And what he said, just say fire department coming through. So I would do that. I've done it a couple times on our department to some other truck companies, and it is hilarious because they look at you, they still park the scene, and they look at you like, you say fire department coming through, fire department coming through, and it makes them feel about that big. Number one, I did it to some companies that I love that were my arch nemesis because we always butted heads on fire scenes. Not butted heads in bad ways, but we always ran to those fires because we were first or second due. We were always neck and neck. And I did it to some other ones to kind of send a message to, you need to get your shit together. So I had to tell that little story real quick about Mike.
Yeah, he's definitely salt of the earth for sure, man. He hung out. I mean, people came up to him with their grandkids, and he's like, I'm Uncle Mike. It's Uncle Mike time. Uncle Mike, give me the kid. And he's just hanging out with people's kids. And
absolutely,
like, man, it's a great human being. Absolutely.
Great man.
I want to ask you, since we talked a little bit about you teaching, when did you start teaching? And is there a time when you know you have something to offer, like when you should start teaching versus maybe not?
Well, I started teaching before I got on Lexington, and it was just basically because I'd had to get a state instructor thing because I was trying to fulfill the volunteer stuff, the checkbox stuff, and getting everything. Um, and basically, I was teaching what I was taught from other volunteers, or what I was taught from other places, um, or what I was taught from books. And those books, to this day, I wish I'd never used some of those books because they were IFSTA manuals, and it's all we had at the time. And it's before the internet and everything like that. We had, my mom got me a subscription to Firehouse magazine in 1984, and like I started reading it at 14. Like I knew what a butterfly valve was. I knew what this was. I knew what that was. So I kind of was different than other kids. Like that kind of stuff, really, I loved it. So knowing about that stuff, it made me want to know more about equipment and everything. The one thing is that if I wasn't sure about it, man, I would try to go to the source and find out about it, write stuff down and everything, and make sure that I passed on the right information. But um, as a young instructor, I didn't step outside of my little box unless I knew something for sure. After I got on Lexington and was put through the academy, and knowing I'd been to all these other fire conferences and school, it's not really, it's small conferences and schools and things out of state and stuff and in state, kind of made me feel, I never said it in the academy that had experience prior. You never do that. You never talk about anything. I pretended in the academy I didn't know shit, didn't know nothing. But like when they wasn't looking or something, I'd do something real quick to make it real easy and just like be like, how'd that happen or something. But my confidence built because I started working under good officers, good senior men, and working with some real firemen and going to fires, real fires. I mean, big fires, good fires, snot slingers, fatal fires, just, seeing stuff, seeing rescues, seeing this, seeing that. And it kind of builds you, it hardens you, it makes you want more. You try to do things better. You want to throw ladders better. You want to force doors faster. You want to learn the better technique. You want to get rid of this technique, put it as plan D now because this is now plan A because this works better. I became a lieutenant in 2003. And man, I was sucking up all the knowledge I could. I started going to more schools outside and everything, and I got stuck on the special ops company, which was fine. And then I went to the truck company after that. About 2 years later, I went to a truck company and been on a truck company ever since, as an officer. But getting to know people, because I've always went to FDIC because I was an Eastern Kentucky University student. And I've never missed a FDIC since it was in Cincinnati in the early 90s. So I went to Eastern from 89 to right at 92, started the fall season. But I didn't graduate because I had a family, had a new child. I was working, trying to make ends meet and everything. And it was just, college was not working for me. I remember my professor begging me not to leave. And I said, I'll finish it sometime. I've not finished that degree with Eastern. I wish I mean, to me right now, I've done what I need to do, but, through instruction and stuff, going through Lexington and then working FDIC, I was working behind the scenes at FDIC. I got to meet all my icons. I got to meet all my people that were just, I put on a pedestal. I'll be honest, there's people that I wanted to meet, wanted to talk to, and wanted to pick their brain, that they turned out to be dickheads. And then I met people that I wanted to meet, that I just absolutely wanted to pick their brains and stuff, that were absolutely gentlemen and just absolutely were humble, like Champo. Right there's one. And that's an example. So as time went on, I started working out on the hot sites and stuff, and Ray McCormick did Urban Essentials. He first did engine company operations, and then did Urban Essentials. And I was always around and stuff, and Ray found out my background and stuff, and how close I was, and everything, and he called me and said, "Would you like to help teach Urban Essentials?" And I said, I think there was a long pause on the phone, like, "Are you kidding me?" And he said, "Yeah, I need somebody to do the roof man. Can you do it?" And he asked me a few questions about roof man stuff, and then I showed up and I went over stuff and said, just ask me questions about this and that. And he said, yeah, you're ready. And so, he kind of, talked and stuff, and that kind of pushed my confidence level after that. And then, he's always been a person to give me good advice. I've always listened to him. He's always took an interest in me. He didn't have to take an interest in me. I'm just a country boy from the mountains of Eastern Kentucky that had an opportunity, that somebody saw something in me and said, hey, you need to be teaching. And I actually listened and realized that, number one, I enjoy teaching. Number two, there needs to be people teaching the right stuff. Number three, if we don't, we'll lose our fire service. And so, not just Ray's one of the ones that I listened to mostly because he was so personable with me. And there was others. To this day that were influences. And I can't say all of them because I don't want to leave somebody out. But Ray was the biggest influence for me. And then as time went on, I learned to get my own voice, my own beliefs. I had my beliefs before, but I restrained them because I'm like, who's going to believe this hilljack from Lexington, Kentucky? But people didn't realize Lexington, Kentucky's a big department, busy department, old department, traditional department. We just don't put anything out there. And nobody knew anything about Lexington department until I started Truckee Talk. Nobody knew anything about our department until they started following me on Facebook. But I had people saying, man, I didn't realize you guys were as big or busy or whatever you guys were. I said, yep. And so it bought us some respect. And I told my chief on my exit interview, I said, I've been your biggest advertisement for people coming to this job, getting on this job, and everything. And, in one ear and out the other, and I never asked that job for anything. I went away from that job knowing I'd never kissed anybody's ass and I never was a yes man. And there's a lot of people don't like there's a lot of people don't like you when you're confident in your job because they think you're cocky. And my mouth got me into trouble a lot because I didn't hold back because, like I said, my mom said, stand up, even if your voice, and say it, even if your voice trembles. I never held back. If I piss you off over something that has to do with our job, well, then you need to think about what I'm pissing you off over. You need to look at yourself. So now I'm on the teaching circuit now. I do it because I love it. I do it because there's things I need to say. I do it to share my experiences, my knowledge. And it's from people that's taught me. It's from all the calls that I've made and the bad calls, the heartbreaking calls, the triumphs, the bad people I worked with, the good people I worked with, and all the positives and negatives coming together. And you can't just say, yay, fire service, we're going to do this. No, you have to bring it all together. And if somebody asks me a question, you're going to get the honest answer because I'm probably going to get a long answer because I am absolutely positively in my fields when it comes to this job. It's like we about lost the fire service the past 15 years within that because we had pussies taking it over and just the way they were running stuff and this and that. We still have people trying to do that. This is a fucking job that can kill you. It's a blue collar job, but you have to understand when you put that t-shirt on, that uniform on, or you get that gear as a volunteer, you understand. If you understand that you're putting yourself in a spot that could get you killed and you're trying to save somebody else, you get it. I used to say this when I was teaching. I haven't said it in a while. This goes along with what you're saying about teaching. I used to say that we kill or we lose over 100 firefighters a year in the United States. Let's say we lose between 100 and 120 on the average. And we lose probably 100 of those to what? Health reasons. We may lose 20 to on-scene stuff. Well, I look at it like as a general because in this line of work, I read books on military stuff too because military and the fire service go hand in hand. And that has helped me with this job as well and being a leader and doing things and making decisions and all kinds of stuff. But I am willing to accept those numbers. And people are like, you're crazy. It is not a perfect thing. It is not a perfect thing. There are more police officers killed than there are firefighters in the line of duty, actually in the line of duty. Okay. I can handle those numbers for firefighters. if you look at it, we should have a lot more people killed. And I love when people say, you can't get on the roof, you'll get killed. When's the last time somebody got killed on doing roof ventilation? I'm going to sit and wait. Give me an answer, because there's departments just don't get it. But those numbers are okay with me. You're going to have casualties in war. Every time a truck rolls out of a firehouse, they're going to war. They're going to battle. They're going to battle. The war is the fire service nationwide. They're going to battle. Are you going to lose somebody in battle? You could. If we have millions of firefighters in the United States and we only lose 100, I will accept that. If it's 100 people to their health, you know what? We can still accept that. And I'm not knocking that everybody goes home or anything like that, and they all have their good intentions, but not everybody's going to go home. I accept that. I've always accepted not everybody's going to go home. I've always accepted that, because if you don't accept that, it doesn't mean you're reckless. It doesn't mean that you're just going to throw yourself in a spot that's going to get somebody killed or hurt. If it means you're careful in doing your job, things happen, but not everybody's going to go home from this. We're going into burning structures. We're going into incidents that will kill us. We are going into incidents of people who are suicidal. We're going into incidents of medical runs of people. We lost a lieutenant on a medical run. She was shot in the stomach and killed. And another firefighter on that run was shot in the head, and they were pinned down. That's not a fire run. That's not a fire run. This job will get you killed regardless. So yeah, training, when it comes down to it, as I've gotten older, my maturity's got better. I've gotten cantankerous about, I wish I could take every young firefighter and sit them down and say, listen, put this in your head, listen to me right now, get you a mentor, listen to all these people that are preaching the right positive stuff, listen to them, find what you want to do. If it's truck or engine, or if you're in a department where you can't choose and you have to pick what's going on scene, get good at your job and love the job. Above all, love the job, because it will take care of you and it will pay off.
One would argue almost, and I don't know the numbers or the data specifically, but the injuries and the line of duty deaths, or just the deaths in the fire service, can be attributed to the lack of accountability, poor leadership, and no training. I think there's a hard push right now because you've mentioned aggressive firefighting mindset. Well, in order to be aggressive, you have to go out and train, and you have to get the reps in and the experience to be aggressive. And I think a lot of guys get hurt because they're not training, and then they end up on a real fire scene and they get themselves in trouble.
I agree to that 1,000%. The other thing I have to throw in there also is that there's guys that want to be aggressive, but we have chiefs that won't let them be aggressive. And we have chiefs that won't let them be aggressive because, number one, they don't know what they're doing because they don't go to training. I had some chiefs in class in California last week, and I told those chiefs, thank you for coming, because I love seeing a chief here, because you're actually learning what your guys are doing. You got chiefs that won't let guys go to the roof because they don't understand roof ventilation. That's sad. So you got aggressive guys want to be aggressive, but they're being held back. It's like having a pit bull, and you've got a choke chain on it, won't let it loose to go to work. And it's sad, because they're not wanting to be you could call them rogues, cowboys, and stuff like that. If they're careful, and what I mean by careful is their situation, their awareness is about the situation around them, and they're given the tools, you give them the training. Now you've put it on them, and they're doing what they're supposed to do, and they're aggressive. Have confidence on them. If something happens, it happens. It's just the way it is. They should be able to learn to read a structure from the outside. And if they can't read it on the outside, it doesn't mean it was presenting something on the outside. We have structures collapse all the time that doesn't even show it's going to collapse. That's God talking. Listen, if God's going to take you, he's going to take you. I'm a firm believer in that. If God is going to take you, he's going to take you. If God was going to take me on the job, he would have took me on the job. It would have been my time. But God, no, he didn't take me. I firmly believe that. But each person needs to stay aggressive, even in training. Brian Madsen, who's retired from the Seattle Fire Department, who's a good friend of mine, he teaches with me on some training groups. He had reposted one of my pictures of where we were splicing ladders. Gosh, don't get me started on that. Splicing ladders is freaks people out, but it's doable. I've seen it save lives. It saved lives. So we were in Texas. He showed one of our pictures of a 28-foot ladder up with a 16-foot ladder up, and it's spliced. And he said, you want to know the most dangerous thing about splicing ladders? The most dangerous thing about splicing a ladder is the crew that goes to use it who's never done it before or trained with it and doesn't understand it. That's the most dangerous thing about splicing ladders. Once you understand the how and the why and you train with it, it's no big deal. You're not going to sit there and watch somebody jump because, it's only for a conscious person coming off a balcony. In your tallest ladder, ground ladder can't reach them. You need what? You need 10 feet. You've got a 16-foot roof ladder and you can hook it over the balcony. If they won't come out, they'll climb over the balcony themselves. Or if you have to go up a system, you're going to climb straight up, put them over the ladder and tell them to go down. You can't help them down. It is what it is. I got beat up by a bunch of New York City firemen online. And that's okay because they thought it was for bailout. And I respected both guys that were tearing me apart. And I just explained it back to them what it was. And they thought it was for bailout. And they thought I was attacking them and their reputation and stuff. Number one, those two guys, I would never attack their reputations because I respect them too much. Number two, I would gladly show them. Number three, I'd gladly talk to them about it. Number four, they just don't understand what I was talking about. And that's okay because what we do somewhere else doesn't mean they do it there. They don't go to peaked roofs. I go to peaked roofs all the time. They don't go to lightweight truss roofs. I go to them all the time. And that's okay because they do it different. They can throw 50 guys at it. I can't. The rest of the world can't. And that's okay. So, but I still love them, but when it comes down to all that, that's how I feel about all that.
Speaking of splicing ladders, in case anybody didn't hear you talk about it on the scrap, can you talk about the boblet strap that you use for splicing?
Yeah. The boblet strap is a strap that was created by a retired firefighter, truck guy from Lexington, Kentucky. His name is Kevin Boblet. And so we called it the boblet strap. I don't even think he named it the boblet strap. I think we named it the boblet strap. And almost every truck guy carries a boblet strap. And this boblet strap is basically two carabiners that are rated on some rated webbing with a cinch strap. And the best one that I found for that I've used it for is a 6-footer. And the boblet strap for splicing was when you hook the roof ladder over the railing, you bring down and come to the second, not the bottom rung, but the next rung up, and you would wrap it around the roof ladder and to the next rung on the extension ladder, and you would tighten it down. And all it does is it tightens it down and it locks it to that ladder. You can pick it and move it and stuff like that. That ladder's not going anywhere. It keeps it from doing this side to side because the ladder's not going to go out like this. It's keeping it from side to side. So that's what we used it for. Now, the boblet strap, there was a guy the other day said, can you tell me other things before I buy this, what we can use it for? Well, we use it to pull the hose up the side of a building, 4 or 5 stories. We pull it in, and we pull it to the next coupling, and then we tie it off the boblet strap and tighten it down. We'd use it for well hole stretches. We do it to carry saws. We do it to carry cylinders. We could wrap it and hook onto a firefighter or drag them. We could we could pull pedals on a extrication. We can lift stuff with extrication, tie stuff back. You could take 2 of them together or a longer one and tie a ladder off at the base to the building or a base to a Halligan or whatever. There's so many things, and I carried a 6-footer until I wore it out and got another one. And every time we go somewhere and we teach, Kevin always knows we teach because he gets a huge order of them. And a lot of officers, after they take the class for Christmas and stuff, will get their guys boblet straps. And these guys, they'll email me back, text me back, or whatever. They'll say, man, these things are the bomb. And they're rated now. They're all rated. So that's what it's used for.
Yeah, no, I love it. I definitely want to try it out. I have not got the chance to use one, and we were practicing splicing ladders at with the truck and with the truck ladders, and I was like, man, I forget what Arthur Ashley was talking about with that bobble strap. And then I went back and listened to the scrap and I was like, oh, there it is. So yeah, well, I'm gonna have to invest in one for sure. We have some time and I want to get into the book, but I want to pick your brain on one more thing. And that's more specifically search. And especially this phrase that I heard you talk about on the scrap. I keep bringing up the scrap, but I really love this one was your, time is opportunity and opportunity is time phrase.
Yes. Um, that was me standing back watching a lot of fires, uh, and me looking at the amount of time from the truck to the front door or to the window when we were doing stuff. Training my crew, every crew member that came to the truck to come off the truck with their gloves on and to be able to mask up at the door or the window or wherever they're at. I used to, I would walk to the front door. I'd take the ads of the Halligan and put under the ball of my left foot, and I'd always stand, put my mask on in about between 10 and 15 seconds, and take my Halligan and walk in. So it came from that, and there were some other things I used to do. Is that I would not put my air pack on in the front seat because I would be doing CAD and tactical channel and all that stuff. And prior to us going on scene, I'd put my gloves on and my flashlight and my Halligan were in the floor. And I would open the door, reach up, pull my air pack down, go to the front of the truck, lay my stuff on the front bumper, and I'd purposely slow myself down and lean forward, putting my air pack on because it would make me look at the building. It would purposely slow me down. People say, well, Captain, you're losing time. No, I pick up my time at the front door. I put my shit on quick. So the time and opportunity is time. So basically what it is if you don't take the time to do something quickly on scene, to be quick and efficient, you'll lose that opportunity because the fire's burning quick, something's going on. It's just going to be gone. It's going to be snatched away from you. And if you don't take the opportunity, that window that is given to you, not just a window in the house, but the window of time or that opportunity that's given you, man, the clock is ticking and you're going to lose the time. It's both working against you. It can even be said to, I believe in getting to a fire quickly, but if we don't get there, we do nothing at all. I believe in pulling up. Love my guys looking out the window, having their stuff ready to go. And as soon as the door opens and the air brakes going on, they're stepping out of the truck going to work. It's all boom, 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 getting it done because they understand time and opportunity. If you get off the truck and you stand around, and I don't armchair. I never say anything on Facebook or anything or Instagram on fires unless somebody's really telling somebody something that is really wrong that could get them hurt. That's one. Or number two, they're attacking one of my friends, and that it's uncalled for. That's the only reason I'll ever say anything. And I'll watch these fires where people stand around. They'll stand at the front door. They're putting their mask on. It's taking 2 or 3 minutes. They're taking their time with the ladder. They're pulling the line, and the opportunity to put the fire out over here, the main body of fire, but you're over here spraying this. They're fixated on this. You call it tunnel vision. I don't care what you call it. Or you're taking your time getting to the rear of the structure to do a 360 and to size things up. You're losing your opportunity. You could have lost the opportunity. You took your time and lost the opportunity at the person at the back window trying to get out of it. Now they fell back into the house. You got to move with purpose. People say, do you run? The only time I ever run is if I see imminent danger. Somebody's getting ready to jump, try to get a ladder to them. Somebody's getting ready to throw a child, or I've got to get to somebody really quick, or somebody needs to be pushed out of the way. Something dangerous, something's getting ready to happen where it requires you've got to run. Other than that, you got to walk with purpose to save your energy. But move with that purpose. But you got to know where you're going. And the best thing about a truck, you're thinking 2 to 3 steps ahead always. I'm opening the door, but I know that I'm going this way. I know that I'm doing this. I know I'm doing that. Fluidity, time and opportunity and time. You can't hesitate because those people in there, they're not paying you to hesitate. I wasn't trained by my department to hesitate. I didn't take the test to be a captain to hesitate. I don't have a crew that expects me to hesitate, and I don't expect them to hesitate. You all get it. It's part of the truck culture.
Are you light when you go into a structure and you're searching? Do you
I
carry a lot with you or no?
I am light.
Light.
I had a split pocket. I used to have a pocket special made on my long jacket, and in the front part of the pocket, I would keep an aluminum wedge. In the back pocket, I kept 5 wedges, and I kept 5 wedges for like projects or apartment buildings for the front door, the vestibule door, the downstairs stairwell, the upstairs stairwell, the apartment door. And on this side, basically was a screwdriver, basically little hand tools that were lightweight. And I kept some lock picking tools, and I had a glove strap that was like a rescue strap that was built into my harness that came down. It's the new thing that you grab and
Oh yeah,
well, I had that. I had
the
a
victim
bobblet
strap.
strap, and that was about it because I like to be light. Because I had an extra flashlight and an extra pair. I had lineman's pliers where my flashlight went up here, an extra flashlight, and I had another cutting tool down here in case I couldn't get to these. And everything was lightweight. I didn't like to have anything to impede me. And the other thing I had on my that I want to throw in there on my light box. On my light box, I never used LED. I always used halogen. The reason I didn't use LED was because when LED came out and we were getting into smoke, even in training and fires, I started noticing that the light was refracting off the smoke back into my eyes, kind of blinding me. And I'm like, it's super bright. I'm not seeing anything. It's not cutting through the smoke for me. So I did that for a little while, and I said, screw this. And I went back to my old light box, and I was cutting through the smoke. And so from all the way up until I retired, I'd order a light box and I'd have to pay extra to get a halogen. And that was fine with me because I just didn't, I didn't want to do that. And the other thing was I didn't always turn my light on while doing the search. And that's one thing I try to tell people is keep that light off unless you truly need it, because you need to know what's going on above you and in front of you and behind you, because you may not see the licking of the flames because of the flashlight, because it blinds, especially the LED, it's going to blind you, and you may not tell that this room's getting ready to light up above you because those flames are coming down and everything's being lit. Your LEDs just, you got everything just brightest and be. Turn those flashlights off. Turn them off unless you're looking under a bed, looking on a bed, looking in a corner or something like that. Don't, because you're going to get in trouble. It'll get you in trouble.
It makes sense. They tell you not to drive with your brights on when there's fog out.
Yeah.
So yeah, those LEDs
Never thought of it that
maybe
way. That's a good way to put it. But I mean, it for me,
yeah.
For me, when I was searching, I said, I hate this. I hate this. So I went back to the halogen. It dimmed it down a little, but it was cutting through the smoke better.
Oh, great tip. I love all the nuggets that we're getting. But I definitely want to give you an opportunity to talk about the new book, The Non-Traditional Truck Company. When did you start writing this? What was your motivation behind it?
Well, the motivation came from Chief Jim Silvernell out of Missouri. And he called me and said, hey, I would really like for you to write this book with me. Let me do the chief side of it. The SOPs, policies, procedures, housing in place and all that stuff. And you do the strategy, tactics and all that stuff. And I said, sure. So we started talking about that probably about 2017. And over the years, it's back and forth. We kept talking about it and stuff, and then, I had some personal issues, that I kind of had to put it on the back burner, and then COVID hit, and COVID hit was kind of like, so COVID hit, with some stuff and just slowed things down. And finally we just said, we got to get our ass in gear and do this. And we did. And, so the way it came to be is I was teaching a class called the Non-Traditional Truck Company. And it was all about you not having the truck in front of the structure. And it was all about doing truck work without a ladder truck. And so it was basically pointed at departments which were engine-based fire departments, that didn't have a ladder truck responding or didn't have mutual aid ladder truck responding. And so a lot of those people that I learned through the years did not realize they were doing truck company operations. They didn't realize they was doing truck work. And so when you tell them they're doing truck work and you show them and stuff, it changes things. So I started putting it into, how to do it, how to put it into order, riding positions, all this stuff, how to put it into order communication wise, riding, riding boards, just everything, all the way down to search, all the little nuggets that goes with the truck work. And it was for, combination departments, volunteer departments, paid departments. It's for anybody. And it is about doing the job. It's basically about the truck culture. You could be a staunch engine guy who loves engine work, but if you're going in as an engine-based department, you're going mutual aid and they say, engine 301, I need you to come in as a truck company and start me a search. Your mindset changes. You go from an engine to a truck guy immediately. You better have your shit together because you're getting ready to do the search. And your search, so if it goes back to a jack of all trades, the master of many. If you're one of those departments where you have to maybe do both, that's where it comes into play. So you have to be up on your game on the basics. I'll say the basics. The basics always save us. If you can do basic truck work, if you can do basic forcible entry, basic ladders, basic roof ventilation, basic search, and understand that a split search, I would go into the search part of it and the vent search part of it just a little bit more, knowing that entails of getting to people. And I've learned how all that works. Going in, being assigned either unseen prior to or your response order, you can't go wrong. And if you have riding assignments, if I'm the officer on engine 301, they say engine 301, come as a truck company, I want you to start a search. I look around at my crew and I go, hey, you guys get that? Got it, Cap. And they say they got it. They already know because if they're riding for me, they know as a truck company going in on a search what they're doing. Because we've already talked about it. They know my expectations. We've already trained on it. They know the tools they're grabbing and they know where they're going. If I say, hey, you guys do me a vent search on the rear and we'll start on the Bravo side because they say there's heavy fire on the front. Because we don't always go in where the hose line goes. So there's many factors. And so the book is to put those people in the mindset, to put those departments in the mindset to realize, hey, let's put a truck company in here because we can. It's about the job. We have the tools. It's about building the culture and training these people. You would be surprised how many departments don't know how to do that. You'd be surprised how many chiefs and training officers don't know how to instill that, put it in, or make it work. You'd be surprised how many firefighters don't know how to go from engine to truck with a snap of a finger. It's not, and I don't blame them. You're ignorant until you're taught. You're ignorant until you're educated. And that's what the book is about, to educate you, to get you to do that. And the book will bring about people wanting us to speak and stuff like that. When I come in and speak, I'm going to teach you the amount of time I speak, 4 hours, 8 hours, or wherever you have me there. I'm going to have you we're going to figure out how to flow this into your department, your battalion, your department, your mutual aid, or whatever you're riding at, whatever you're doing. Because you got to be able to flow and get to the people. You got to be able to flow, get those tasks, not tactics, those tasks done for the engine company and the victims. It has to be done. It has to be done. If you're on an engine, you got to be good at forcible entry. If you are an engine-based fire department, you still have to be good at forcible entry because when I was on the busiest engine and we were their first front door, a set of irons went with us because guess what? We're forcing our own door, leaving the irons at the front door and starting inside with the attack. If you're a person who drags a Halligan with you on a 2-person team of stretching a hose line, stop. Your tool is the hose line. Okay. Don't try to hold on to a Halligan. There's guys that put it on their air pack back here. That's great. Yeah. Get it out of the way. You can't hold on to 2 things. I got to say this. If you're a department that thinks you're engine based and you're going to do truck work and you're assigned to search and you pull a hand line and try to do a search throughout a structure with a hand line, you're fucking stupid. The reason for that is because it's insane. You will not search that entire structure from a hand line. And the reason people do is because they've never been taught. They're uncomfortable. They're afraid to get off the line. They're scared. There's many things. There's many factors. You have got to get off the line, away from the line, ahead of the line, and somewhere else searching for people. You cannot be there with the protection of water to search for somebody. You can have another person on a hand line, a host team being your heel, protecting you from the fire while you're searching somewhere on a split search, but you can't search for the hose line. And it's talking about don't search for the hose line.
Mm.
And it breaks everything down. We try to make it a little bit easy to understand.
I'm so glad that you talked about that. I meant to bring it up in our conversation about searching off the hose line and the quality of the search by doing that. Uh,
Poor quality search.
I
People have been missed. People have been missed. There's people that think they can go around a dining room table with a hose line back into a kitchen, back down the hallway. I'm like, you lost your damn mind. Stop. Now listen, if you're on a hose line going in fighting fire and you're at, you stopped and guys, you're fighting fire and the guy's right here. There's nothing wrong with the guy over here sweeping to the left and sweeping to the right, to see if somebody's there, to take your flashlight and look at. I expect you to do that because if somebody's laying right there, I hope you would see them because 9 times out of 10, if you're dragging that line in there and they're in your your path of travel, you're going to find them. But you're not going to find somebody trying to drag a hose line through a structure and do a search. That tells me right there, you don't know how to do a search, and it tells me you're scared.
Yeah, I tell a story about the first time I went to a conference and learned about things like VES beyond the door and searching without a hose line and searching above the fire. And I use that as motivation to say, hey, I'm going to start implementing this in my department, even though that's not how we do things. And I took my crew to the second floor without a hose line, and we fucking sucked because we never trained on it. That wasn't our philosophy. So I humbly have to say that I fucked that up. But
you know what?
It was a good lesson learned.
Absolutely. And I tell people,
Yeah,
the first part is realizing you sucked and it's not good. The second part is it is fixable. It is absolutely fixable. If everybody on that crew wants to learn how to do it correctly and do it right and be successful and be efficient, let's use the word efficient, be efficient at a quick search that is fast and methodical, okay? You could fix that versus just go back to the firehouse and say, well, I'll try it next time you get a fire. Listen, it's not the training academy where the walls are wide open. You're going to go into a house that's loaded full of shit, toys and everything. Let me tell you something. I worked the ghetto probably 95% of my career. Those houses are either loaded up, hoarded up, or empty with just mattresses on the floor. It's either loaded up, hoarded up, or mattresses on the floor, and you don't know what you're getting till you either look in the window, go in the window, or go in the door. That changes the ball game. And a lot of times, you're crawling over stuff. And it's not hoarded up. It's just because people are living in a small house and they have a lot of shit. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I've always had an issue also of searching off the hose line where we immediately stretch, use the tick, find where the fire is. We immediately stretch and go get to the fire and put water on the fire, and then we get orders to go search. And I'm like, well, now I don't know where I'm at in the house because we stretched from the front door to the fire. I don't know which room was to the left or the right because I didn't size up or I didn't put my hands on things going through the house. And now you're asking me to search with low visibility. It's just one of those things where, man, we just got to keep repping and practicing and finding a good philosophy.
Thing also, and here's another thing: you stretched on a hose line going in there, versus a guy's. I'm crawling in there to the fire and working my way out. Well, I've crawled in there. The only time I used my tick was when I looked going in, or I'd look from when I transitioned from one room to the next. Look in front of me, look behind me, and look around me, and I'd go. I never got fixated on a tick because number one, it's an electronic device; it'll quit at any moment. Those batteries suck. So you have to make a oriented map in your head, a spatial map in your head. So you got to know where you're going, all this stuff. Got to know that I went from hardwood to tile. I'm in the kitchen, all this and that. So when things go bad, number one, you can shoot your way back out. Number two, you've got to be able to not look at a cartoon screen the entire time you're in there. If you get fixated on that and it quits, guess what? You're screwed. You don't remember how you got in there. The tick is a valuable device. Let me say one more thing about a tick. Basement fires. The one thing about a basement fire and a tick, this will save a person's life if they watch this. If you get a basement fire and you're not sure it's a basement fire or you're sure it's a basement fire or whatever, you can take a tick and look at the floor and it could be an ambient temperature of 80 degrees. Let's say it's 70 degrees. Let's say it's 70 degrees here. It's showing 70 degrees on the carpet. but it could be 1,200 degrees on the decking below in the rafters. It's not going to pick up on that tick through that decking. It will not do it. And you could easily be standing there and the whole floor collapse. So don't depend on your tick on basement fires. Absolutely, positively not. That's one of the things. And if you truly want to learn how a tick works, you've got to spend a good time with a tick. Let me tell you somebody that does a great tick class, Sam Hiddle. Sam Hiddle absolutely positively does a great tick class. There's other people that does a great tick class, but Sam has the whys, the do's, the don'ts, methodical.
I met Sam at Wichita Hot, and I didn't even know who he was at the time until someone told me after the fact. But he was teaching us some things just in the hallway between lectures. And I'm like, who the fuck is this guy?
He's a humble
guy.
He's a great guy. He is probably one of the, listen, I'll put him up there with Dennis Laguerre. Dennis Laguerre is the man of hose and water. I will put Sammy Hiddle up there with rescue knowledge on how to do this, that, and what, forceful entry, and everything else, because he's phenomenal. His background is what makes him phenomenal. And plus, he loves to teach. He'll show you. He'll take the time. He's a humble person. He's a great guy. And everybody should approach him because he wants everybody to learn.
Yes. Amazing people all over the fire service. And you don't get to know them until you get outside of your own department. I mean,
you got to walk up to them and talk to them. You got to walk up to them and talk to them.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can go down that rabbit hole, but I want to save your time because that'll take us 2 hours to talk about outside training and conferences. But redirecting back to the book, where can people find the book and purchase it?
Well, the book is supposed to be, as far as I know right now, I didn't see the last the authors meeting, which was online. That's my fault. I fell short. But it will be available just like you can get any other book from Fire Engineering, which is Pitwell Productions. Go on to Fire Engineering's site where you can buy books. They are also talking about selling the books at other places outside of going online to get them. And places like that is like, and I'm just giving examples. This is not in stone yet. I'm just giving examples. Places like Target, Walmart, places like that, Barnes & Noble, just different places where you can walk in and buy that book, that it would be readily available, which I'm glad because that means it's more, people would be more exposed to it because, not a lot of people would go to the site and look for a book. If you heard somebody talk about it and you say, oh, there's a bookstore over here or there's a Target stuff, let me see if they've got it. Or you're just in Target, you go, oh, the non-traditional truck company or Chief Thompson's, the functional fire company, or whatever, there it is. I want this. That would be great because it's exposed to more people. It's more readily accessible.
Yeah, that'd be great for sure. Just so everybody knows, we're recording this on January 16th. The book's going to drop on the 17th, but I think the podcast is going to drop after, so it's going to be available while you're listening to this. So look for it. It'll probably, if you're going to Target to look for it, it's probably between like Blue's Clues and something like that. No, I'm definitely going to try to grab one because I told you a little bit before, my department is in the middle of trying to implement some type of truck culture philosophy. And there's some guys that are really, really working hard at bringing that to our department. But as you can imagine, running up against some roadblocks. So hopefully they can use this as a guide to help implement that into the department.
It is a guide, and it's a guide, and it's one of those things where Chief Silvernell, myself, would be available. But my training company is one of the big things we do. I started my own training company. I always worked for other people in their training companies, but I started my training company after I retired because so many people were saying, "Hey, man, are you retired? But are you still teaching?" And my calendar filled up completely, and I was like, "Wow, I love this." So I started my own training company, and one of the big things is the transition to the truck culture, and how to, why, all the things that go with it. And then, we've been going into a lot of departments on stages. We'll go in and get them started on this stage. We'll come back on this stage. We'll come back on this stage, and they advance through it. And we were doing that prior on some departments, and I'll have to brag on some of these departments, man. They've made some badass truck. I mean, they didn't have truck company culture before, and some of them just got their first truck companies. They got some badass truck companies now because they bought in. The culture's there. They have the attitude. They went and learned not just from us, but from other places, brought stuff back, and they've implemented into their response order. They're doing phenomenal stuff.
Yeah. No, and is that the Street Smart Tactics?
Yep, Street Smart
that
Tactics.
you own? Okay. So you definitely have classes, or is there a way we can get on and try to book you on a website or something like that?
Well, you can find us on Facebook at Street Smart Tactics LLC. And you can also find us on Instagram. You can also find me under Truckee Talk on Instagram. And Truckee Talk was the first Facebook page on that was dedicated to truck work. The very first one back in 2012 for truck company operations. And the one thing about Street Smart Tactics is we do everything from engine ops all the way to swift water to this to that,
Okay.
everything in between, because the cadre I have 25 instructors, and they all come from busy departments, and the cadre I have are experienced, knowledgeable, humble, and the biggest thing for me is they have no ego. We teach to you. We want you to learn it. We're not there to, we're not there. Listen, I know that I'm not going to get rich like some of these people do off the fire service. When you see what we charge, you're like, really? Because all I want to do is to pay my guys worth their time, pay the company a little bit what their time is, and to get you trained. Because the training is the most important thing. If you like it, you'll have us back.
All right. Well, if you're looking for a cadre member that can help people start a social media page or a podcast, I'm your guy.
There you
All
go.
that other stuff, I'm probably not the best at teaching anything else.
There you go.
What about where people can find you in 2025? You said you're going to be traveling a little bit.
Oh gosh.
Okay, maybe not everything, but like some of the big spots that you're going to be
Oh
at.
gosh, I'll be at FDIC. I'm gonna be in Texas. Gosh, some of these places you won't find out until a little bit later on in the year if you're going to be there or not, because you apply and do stuff. I'm gonna be in Florida, Texas, California, Virginia, Tennessee, Ohio, Colorado.
Oh yeah, when do you come to Colorado?
What's that?
When are you coming to Colorado?
There's supposed to be a thing coming up in the fall.
Okay.
They're working it out. It's not me working it out. It's another training group.
Okay.
I'm part of I'm part of the cadre for that.
You might come out, or maybe Mile High Fire Conference again?
Maybe.
Yeah, because they're usually September, October timeframe.
Yeah, so. It may be. I do know that we're supposed to be coming back to Mile High for.
Okay. I'll tell you that Highwayman class at Coast to Coast, that was a fun class, and I'm an engine guy, so everything there was brand new, pretty much brand new to me. Flat roofs, pitched roofs, working off a ladder, all that. Man, it was great.
And we made it easy. We made it fun. We made it easy. We made it easy to understand. And you want to cut all you wanted, you can cut.
I'm still promoting that Nupla hook to a lot of people in my department because we have that Fire Hooks Unlimited one.
Yeah.
We're still jamming it into our compartment with that fucking D handle.
Yeah. Well, the Nupla, that's the thing is that's another thing about the truck culture. You'll learn what tools work and what tools won't. You'll learn that which ones are stronger and more durable. I love a Lockwood hook. I love a New York hook. I love the Nupla hook. There's certain Halligans I like. There's just different things that I like about certain things. But when you get down to the nitty gritty, you want the one that's going to be the most durable. And, I've got my favorites, and there's other people got their favorites. And then some people got their favorites that they've never used. They just like the way it looks, like it's cool looking or something like that. And then it's just, then you're like, okay, I saw a guy one time carrying a 3-piece Halligan that had held together by the pins and stuff. And he's carrying it. And I go, is that yours? He goes, yeah, man, it's mine. I go, on purpose? He goes, yeah. I go, all right, you do you.
Oh, man. I want to get my hand on one of the council bars. Those things look pretty sweet.
Yes.
I haven't got one yet.
Yes.
So, all right, brother. Sorry, we're just going to continue to chat. If I don't start to close this out because we're at an hour 40. let's talk about final thoughts. I mean, a message to guys out there, whatever you want to, a final message you want to send to them.
Find a mentor, love the job, learn to do it correctly and efficiently. Don't stop training. Push yourself beyond your expectations. Be better for yourself and be better for them. And the people around you, share your information, even if they don't want to hear it or not, because I had that problem too. They didn't want to hear it, but I just kept pushing. Get outside of your department and learn as well, because there's more than one way to skin a cat, and there's more than one way to open a roof. There's more than one way to do this and that. Learn the statistics of why we do, and learn why and how we do things. And the biggest, and take care of yourself. Take care of yourself. It's toward the end of my career there, is like it was just, I was a CrossFit guy, and I had a little bit of a little issue with some throat cancer and stuff there for just a minute moment in about 2015 and 16, and after that kind of wiped out the CrossFit days for a long time.
Yeah, yeah.
Before then, I'm a completely different looking guy, and then it affected me health wise and stuff. But take care of yourself. I remember the doctor saying, "Have you ever breathed any smoke before?" And I'm like, yeah, just a little bit, doc, so it's just take care of yourself and all those things, and enjoy the job and have fun. When you stop having fun, you gotta sit back and say, is it the job? Is it me? Is it the people around me, or anything like that? And the last thing is if something is bothering you PTSD wise, and you see something, it bothers you, you hear something and it bothers you. And what I mean by hear something, sometimes you don't have to see stuff, and you hear something on scene, it goes all through you and it bothers you. I don't know how many demons I've got. I think I counted them at one time, but I don't know. And in 2009, I'd had enough, and I went and sought help and went to the therapist. And it was the best thing I ever did, because I was struggling horribly with PTSD, and I thought that I could handle it, but I couldn't. But the stuff I'd seen and heard and touched and smelled and all the stuff that goes along with it. There's certain smells that I'll smell, or something that'll trigger me, or certain places in Lexington that I'll drive past that really just triggers me. And just don't be afraid to talk about it. Back in the day when I came on, they told you to suck it up. And I did. From 94 to 2009, I sucked it up till I couldn't suck it up anymore. And today it's okay to talk about it. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you bad. But if you ever feel like that you're going to do something to yourself, don't do it. Go talk to somebody. We've had people from our job take their life, and I've had friends in the fire service take their life, and we didn't know they were having issues. So if you're having issues, it's not. There's a better way to do it. There's people that care about you. So if there's anything I could say, is get help.
I appreciate you saying that, Cap. And the first resource that comes to mind when you say that is of course Next Rung,
Yep.
which is
Blake.
Our buddy Blake Stinnett, who's still working from the hospital bed. I just FaceTimed him yesterday, in between physical therapy and rehab. He was like, "Hey man, if you got time," I was like, "Sure," and just FaceTimed him.
That's another wonderful guy right there. That's another. That is a guy right there that saw that he could do something more than just the fire service side of it. What he's been doing. He's another guy that's just so humble. Everything he's done, it's just unbelievable. And I'm glad so many people's reached out to help him. It's just amazing.
Yeah, it's very impressive, and I can't wait for him to get back on the mend. He should be heading home this week, is what he told me yesterday. So
good.
I'm glad we still have him. It was actually very terrifying to think that if he didn't make it through his accident, the size hole he would have left in the fire service.
Oh,
but we still have him, and he's still putting in work. Yes. So, all right, Cap, that'll wrap it up. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
And we'll probably have to bring you on for a part 2. And I know I'm going to see you out there. I'll be at FDIC this year, so we'll hang out and shoot the shit a little bit more.
Whatever we need to do, we'll do it.
All right, everybody, if you found value in this, if you're someone like me that's trying to incorporate a truck culture, you know who to reach out to now. So, oh, that reminds me, how can people get a hold of you? We talked about your website, but if people want to reach out to you and pick your brain a little bit more.
If you want to pick my brain, you can call me on my phone or text me at 606-481-5257. Even at 2 in the morning, I'll look at it crazy and answer it the next morning. Or you could send me an email at ashes752@hotmail.com or ashes752@streetsmarttactics.com.
I bet you're going to get more streetsmarttactics.com because no one uses Hotmail anymore. I'm
Well,
just going to tell
I
you.
know it shows up it's Outlook now. So in between street smart,
Okay.
put a hyphen. In between street and smart, put a hyphen.
Okay. Street-smart-tactics.com.
Yep.
Got it. I'm glad you cleared that up because I'm sure they would
Yeah, I
have
probably
got a
wouldn't
bunch
get
of return
anybody
emails.
something like that.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Thank you for listening. Thanks, Kat, for being a great guest, and we will catch you on the next episode. See you later.